What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Exchange. Unfortunately, not in person anymore. We're back to our digital landscape, I suppose you could call it. Yeah, back here we are. But, that's all right. We will persevere through. Tales of the Empire came out. It's been a few days since it came out, so hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to watch it. We're very excited to talk about it. Anyone that listens to this podcast regularly will know that Mike and I are huge Star Wars animation fans, so we are very, very excited by this series. We're very excited to talk about it. But before we do, Mike, how have you been going these last couple of days? Since the last time we spoke, well, the last time we spoke on the podcast was the Bad Batch finale.
Yeah, which was a week ago, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
It is insane. It is insane. But I mean, we had no time to digest. We were thrown right into a new series. We don't know how many seasons it's gonna get, but we were just thrown right there, and it's just everything has felt like whiplash. Ari's gone, and it took me some time to adjust that. I didn't get to see Ari like you can just tell when he's around because he's very loud, like either the coughing or just his smart remarks. And so I would wake up and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta go to work. I'm like, and I don't hear Ari. I guess he's gone. So it took some adjustment. But I missed the guy, and we had some really fun live action adventures and whatnot. So it this sucks not having you right here in this chair beside me. I'm just doing it from the Chicago studio. But one day we'll get to the Australia studio and both film there. But I mean, it was great. Right. It was great. It was just sad. It is sad right now. I'm realizing I'm like, oh my god, we're back on this dweeb little screen when we were here forced together. But that, I mean, come again. So no worries. But yeah, everything's been going good. We're in a full Star Wars season. I went to go watch the 40th anniversary of the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. And I'm currently 25, so I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's insane to me. But yeah, like Phantom Menace and I have shared a pretty distant birthday, but we're both 25 now, so that's insane. But yeah, that was great. It was great to watch Phantom Menace in theaters, and then just having experienced the Bad Batch finale and then Tales of the Empire. I'm like, oh my, it just feels like Star Wars season is in full swing. So I'm on a Star Wars high. I'm watching marathoning Rebels at home, continuing off from what Ari and I left off on. So yeah, this is great. It feels like Star Wars for me, like how Star Wars has hit a dry spot for you and I for like, maybe like for over a year, almost seems like. It just feels like everything is back for me. Like, I mean, yeah, like when Bad Batch comes on, I'm in a Bad Batch mood, but I really don't care about anything other than that. I don't go back and care about the movies or anything, but it just feels so great to like just be, loving Phantom Menace, Tales, and Bad Batch, and then digging into Rebels, and just I'm just falling in love with Star Wars again. For Star Wars Day in my classroom, we watched a bit of Force Awakens, and I had them do a word search that consisted of Resistance, sequel trilogy-esque terms and all that. So they did a word search, and then we tried blue milk together, which was great. We had a little toast session, and we drank blue milk, and it had some mixed reactions in the class, I won't lie, but typically or generally they all pretty much liked it. But it was met with first a mixed reaction, but they want more. So it's just great. It was a great time, and we watched Rebels in class together. So yeah, we had a cool Star Wars day. So yeah, everything feels alive and for my fandom in Star Wars. But how are you going? How's Australia? How's it like to be away from Chicago? And how's your Star Wars vibe these days?
Yeah, no, it's been a time readjusting to my Australian life and readjusting to the time zone as well. I'm recovering from my jet lag now. So it's probably a good thing we're recording this podcast a few days out from the release, or else I would have been falling asleep during the episode. But yeah, no, you mentioned you went and saw Phantom Menace in theaters, which usually is something that is exclusive in the States over there. So I was bummed out that I left just before it started airing. But then I looked it up just before I left, and I go, oh, they're actually showing it in Australia as well. So I put in my notes when I get back, I'll go watch the Phantom Menace in theaters. I got back, And then I saw one of my local theaters was doing not just Phantom Menace, but all of the first 6 movies, and I just thought, "Oh crap! Like that looks cool." But then again, I was ridiculously jet lagged, so I was like, they were doing like a triple feature one day of the original trilogy, then a triple feature of the prequels. I was like, man, if I was able to stay awake for all that, I would go see that in a heartbeat. And I was like, I got to pick one. I wanted to go see Phantom Menace anyway, just because I'm like, it's what everyone's doing. But I was like, you know what? I've never seen Revenge of the Sith in theaters. I don't know if I'm going to get another chance to. So I was like, I'm going to go see that. And I'm so glad I did, because it was just the best time ever. Some of the sequences in that movie is just, I think you were talking about like the same, like with the pod racing and Duel of the Fates and Phantom Menace. Same thing with Revenge of the Sith. Battle of the Heroes, the whole opening sequence, like incredible. Even like the fight between Emperor and Yoda in like the Senate chamber was just like unbelievable. And then like the final scene, the credits, the opening, like just everything is just awesome. Star Wars in the theaters, no matter what movie it is awesome. So that was super fun. And yeah, no, happy Star Wars Day to everyone. We didn't do a podcast this year, but yeah, happy Star Wars Day to everyone. It was my first day back, so I really didn't do anything. I saved my celebrating for May 5th when I went and saw Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, no, it was good. And I'm with you. It definitely feels like Star Wars season a little bit. Maybe we're just feeling that, 'cause we're just in that mood after going to the convention, and now Tales of the Empire, Bad Batch finishing up. And it just feels like there's so much news right now, a lot going on. We're rewatching Rebels. So we're definitely in that Star Wars mood for sure, which is always fun. So yeah, that's what's going on with us. A lot of Star Warsing, which has been fun. So, but yeah, let's talk about Tales of the Empire. I'll put a timestamp in if anyone didn't want to listen to that. I should have said that before, but whatever. Now we're talking about Tales of the Empire. So, let's just start off with our overall thoughts. Maybe tell me your favorite episode. Did you prefer the Barris arc or the Morgan Elsbeth arc? How are you feeling about Tales of the Empire? And yeah, tell us your experience of watching it, everything like that.
For sure. So obviously I'm dying to watch this out. And apparently he had a crazy uh messed up release schedule. Well, I shouldn't say messed up, but maybe it was intentional. But like, I don't know this is the first time we're even talking about Tales of the Empire, but um, they released it in local time Australia at midnight for May the 4th.
Oh,
So
I
it was way
didn't know
out,
that.
maybe 16 hours before it hit the US.
Yeah, wow.
When usually it's a global release. This was
Yeah,
at everyone's local time at, I think, at midnight or something like
interesting.
that. So that's a first for Disney Plus. They don't do stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's global release. So that was weird. But I still didn't watch it till the next morning. Woke up and I was just like, oh man, Tales of the Empire. Gotta get suited for this. Gotta get my cup of calf and then sit down and watch this and see how it goes. But um I'm not gonna lie. I came off Tales of the Jedi kind of hasty towards it because of some gripes and all, but then I just before I even watched Tales of the Empire, I binged all of Tales of the Jedi with my brother because he hadn't seen all of them and he wanted to sit down and watch them, and he was excited for Tales of the Empire. So he's like, "Want to watch them?" I was like, "Sure." So we sat there for like an hour plus watching them. And I was like, "Oh man, these are like good shorts and all." And it feels very isolated stories, and I enjoy them and all. And I look on back at Tales of the Jedi pretty fondly now and all that. I still have my issues, but I'm like, you know what? Whatever, fun. Tales of the Empire. I'm gonna say this. I'm still very conflicted on it. There's stuff that I really like, and then there's stuff that I'm just like, I don't know. And this is a very different reaction from Tales of the Jedi because I was pretty strong on some of the stuff, but then I came around it. This stuff, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get over. I don't know if the Morgan stuff was good, and I think on a second rewatch, because then I watched them all by myself, but then my brother watched them with me the next day, and he wanted to watch it, so I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna rewatch all of these. I mean, might as well. And I don't know. I think the Morgan Elsbeth stuff ended up. I ended up liking a bit more than the Barris stuff, just because the Barris stuff, I don't know if I like what they did. The second time though, I will say like I started liking a little bit of the Barris stuff, but it just fell flat for me. I totally saw Barris going in this direction. Like in the trailers, you could see that she was just kind of frightened a bit, and that's not the way to. She was so headstrong in the Clone Wars and what she did, and she's like, "Oh, these red lightsabers, they suit me," and all this other stuff. But she just seemed frightened by all this Inquisitor stuff by in the trailers, right? And I was like, yeah, I could totally see her going on a path of redemption. I'm like, we got a tale of the fall of the Jedi with the Dooku story and Tale of the Jedi, and now we can get one of a would be Inquisitor turning back to the path of the light in Tales of the Empire. I'm like, okay, we can totally do that. That would be a cool little parallel, right? But I don't know if it worked for me. I don't. It felt very. It felt very. It just didn't feel genuine. Barris's turn back to the light. It just felt like they did a full 180 from that path that she was on, and they didn't explain it to us properly or show us. And then we were just talking about characters that are redeemed and then dying off, like immediately. And I was just like, when the fourth sister killed her, I was like, what? I was like, we waited 10 years.
She might not be dead.
I
mean, just given how I'm just saying, given how Star Wars is these days.
I know, but that's even. I don't know.
And then they walked out of the cave together. I honestly just thought that was left like open.
And I like that, but I don't know if I can take another one of those fake out moments just because it's getting ridiculous. I just watched Phantom Menace again in theaters, and I'm like, Qui-Gon, you poor soul. Like you should have been in one of these animated series so your life could be. Like the
Obi-Wan series was live action when they did that, but
no. Well, I'm just saying, like, and also the Ahsoka series, with the Sabine thing. But I mean, I don't know, like I still feel very conflicted on everything. I don't know if I like the direction with the Barris stories, that it took with Barris's character. I mean, I love the end result where it's like, yes, like Barris, you're back, and you had this moment, right? And I love that she was talking to the family about, I was once a Jedi, and I could travel upon, around the stars with my master, and I saw great things, and the darkness came over me. And it's just like, oh my God, great. Like she's addressing it. And then we kind of just skip over some stuff. I'm like,
just real quick though, with the Barris dying or not dying, wouldn't you like though if like she had spent like whatever it had been, probably 10 years giving her life force to other people, and then meanwhile the sixth sister or whoever the Inquisitor was had been going around searching for her, wanting revenge, inflicting more pain on the galaxy, and then for her to make that decision to give her life force back to Barris after she was the one that stabbed her. I don't know. I thought that was a nice moment, to be honest, and I like that it was just left open to interpretation.
Yeah, I like the openness at there, because first time I'm like, wait, what? And the second time I'm like, okay, I like that the camera like fades out and all that, or the scene fades out. Yeah, I mean, I do like that. But again, it's just everything. If like this happened in like season 3 of the show or something later on, but like just to wait 10 years for a story like this, and you're bringing Barris back, and then just to kill her off. I know time has passed, obviously, right? Within those episodes, but then just to kill her off immediately, I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Like we skipped a lot. So again, I still don't know how I feel about all that. It just felt like course correction for me. I feel like Lucasfilm felt the heat from call outs from fans saying, that was, Barris was coded in this way. And then what they did was, make it a stereotypical of that culture and whatnot. Like I feel like they were trying to like make up for their mistakes, but they I don't want to swear, but they like half-assed it. To me, that's how it came off. It just didn't feel genuine. So I'm seeing like a lot of reaction online, kind of just not liking the Barris story, and I'm like, dang, like I wasn't the only one. I haven't paid attention to online crap in a minute, but I was just looking at some of the comments. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one. But Yeah, I don't know if I like the Barris stories. I mean, I some moments I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great, but I just, I wish they fully committed to Barris being, Darksider and going through with what she did, but then having a moment, it just didn't feel earned at the end for me. That's, I'm still processing my thoughts and getting everything. But yeah, it just didn't feel genuine to me, and it just didn't feel like she earned that moment. I can change my opinion like everyone else, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
The Morgan Elsbeth stuff I liked. Very Dave Filoni always does this to us where like we're here thinking that Thrawn was the sole creator of the TIE Defender project, and then it gets introduced that it was Morgan Elsbeth, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. It feels like we're taking some of Thrawn's power away and some of his not credibility, but some of his like ammo, and then handing it over to someone else to, oh, this character's from the Mandoverse, and we're gonna give her some steam. And oh yeah, she's the one that created the TIE Defender project or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that stuff, but I mean that opening shot was great. I feel like it kind of took away from the Bad Batch finale, how we were just like, oh my god, how crazy was that with the Venators coming in, and then you see the Star Destroyer, and then just for them to repeat that same kind of shot, where I'm like, oh, we just saw this, but it was still cool nonetheless.
That's not like on the show though. That's just like the release schedule. Like you can't hold that against the show.
No. But I'm just saying, like, it just, for me, it just coming off the Bad Batch finale and be like, oh my god, that's so cool, and then just to see it again, trying to like, it just felt like regurgitated. I'm like, all right, we just saw this, like, I'm just my thoughts, but I mean, there's some cool stuff with the Morgan Elsbeth episodes. I like that she was on this total down spiral trek as we got along. Like it definitely felt like the Dooku episodes from Tale of the Jedi, which 2 years ago. But it just felt like we were on a downward spiral with the character, and even more so with Morgan Elsbeth, because they were telling you like the one character from the first episode, the mountain. I don't know what they're calling it, the Mountain Witch or whatever.
Mountain Clan.
The Mountain Clan witch or mother, she was telling her like, oh, your path is set, Morgan Elsbeth, it's destruction and evil or something like that. And I mean, it just had great visual shots and all. And I really like that first story where it felt this is very reminiscent of Visions, especially the stories from season 2. I just got some of that vibe from that episode, which I thought was great. And then the next 2 episodes were cool. I like the Thrawn stuff. I mean, his dialogue was so heavy. I turned on the subtitles so I could understand what he was saying and like read it, because sometimes I'm just a visual learner, so I was reading the stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm comprehending what he's saying. Because on first I was like, wait, what is he saying? I had to rewind it so I could put on subtitles. But I mean, crazy Rook scared the crap out of me when he came and attacked Morgan Elsbeth. Like I was not expecting him, and I just see like a little thing fling on the camera or on the screen. I'm like, what was that? I'm like, you see that? And then Morgan turns, and then like Rook just starts attacking her. I'm like, oh crap, it's Rook. So that was really cool. I want to text Ari right away, like, dude, Rook is back. But I was like, no, he hasn't. He's not going to watch the show anytime soon. But yeah, that was a really cool moment. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the whole TIE Defender project thing, but whatever. I mean, second time I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, whatever. And it is cool on the other side, like, okay, cool, like Morgan was tied to that, and whatever. And then what was the third episode? Oh, the New Republic. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. That one's pretty tight. I think for Tales of the Empire, though, you're expecting like stuff that's taking place within the Imperial era, but that was still cool nonetheless, because Morgan Elsbeth is a legacy from that era and what she does. So I'm like, I mean, that works, but it was still cool to see Resistance. I'm sorry, not Resistance, New Republic people, and to see that village prepare for what we see in, the Mandalorian with the woods burned down or the forest burned down, and some of that one, the guy that ends up taking the village over afterwards after Ahsoka defeats Morgan. So I'm like, okay, we got some cool background into this stuff and what kind of monster Morgan Elsbeth is. So yeah, I mean, we got some cool insight. I don't know. It just this time around, Tales of the Empire kind of fell flat for me. In both regards, in both aspects, because I definitely thought Barris was gonna carry with her side of the stories, but I don't. I mean, they kind of did, but then at the same time, I was expecting a little bit more. I wasn't expecting like Vader to kill Barris and all that. Like that was fan stir up and talk and all that. Like, ooh, that's a little fan theory. Ooh, or fan expectations of, oh, Anakin was the one to capture, and now Vader's gonna be the one to kill her. Oh, cool. Like that to me, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, sure. But yeah, I don't. It's just gonna take some time to digest. Remember, I'm one of those stubborn, diehard, Rebels or Clone Wars fans that's like, don't touch this shelf of toys. Okay, this has its own shelf. Don't these new people come in and start touching this stuff, which I know is the same freaking people working on this stuff, but I don't know. To me, I'm just like, oh man, I wish some stuff was handled differently, and yeah, the Bears story just didn't at the end feel earned to me, but I did like a lot of the stuff from it. Also didn't like a lot of the stuff from it. So I'm right now I'm at a point of conflict where I'm like, I sat through it the second time and I was kind of like, I was like, ooh, I like that. I really like that. But yeah, it was just I was expecting more. I'll put it that way. That's my overview. I'm gonna pass it on to you. What did you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with most of what you said, to be honest. I thought it was great. Once again, like I think this is just my favorite way, just like my favorite type of Star Wars right now. It's just like simple yet rich storytelling that's concise, it's animated, it's about characters with depth. And yeah, the stories really hit for me. They're all very thought provoking. Um, and overall, like they go for 10 to 15 minutes, but every time one ended, it felt like it 2 or 3 minutes had passed because I was just that like engulfed in the episodes. Like I really, really enjoyed them. And I guess, yeah, I don't know. You felt this way about Tales of the Jedi probably early on, and later on you sort of came around on it. So I'm hoping the same trajectory is in place this time. But yeah, I guess the Barra stuff, I really, I find your point of view interesting on it because like that feels very like I don't know, it's sort of the way original trilogy fans would talk about Luke in The Last Jedi. Like, no, Luke was this, and so he
Well, yeah,
has to
that's what I
stay
said.
like
I'm
this.
a diehard Clone Wars
Yeah,
and Rebels
but
fan.
it's like I'm a
Don't mess with
diehard
it.
too. I just think fans should generally, and this isn't just you, but like should be a bit more open minded to what like the stories are being told now. Like I don't think the Barris off the episodes contradict Barris in the Clone Wars at all. I think it adds on another layer to it, and it continues that story in a really like good way, if you ask me. Like,
But you don't feel like
I,
they did a 180 with her character? Like
no,
I expected her to redeem herself in a way, because that's, to me, there was, you see Barris in at the end of Clone Wars wasn't this like just maniacal evil like Palpatine or Grievous or Dooku. She was someone with purpose and someone that was trying to make a statement because what she saw was wrong, but she took down the wrong path of doing so. Right? She didn't do it in the right way, in the right channels. She instead just acted out of violence and fear. Obviously, you shouldn't do that. So obviously, we're gonna get a moment that I always thought of, because I always saw her as an inquisitor, right? But I'm like, to me, she doesn't have enough hatred to go on to the end to like fight Ahsoka. And I did like the theories that the Seventh Sister Rebels was Barris and all that, but I'm like, I don't like it. Just I never was sold on the idea, because I'm like, there was that underlying if, or like there's that underlying feature to Barris that separated her from the rest, from Palpatine and all those characters, because of her intent with it, right? So I was expecting a turn, and I was totally ready for her to. And in the trailers, it was so obvious to me that she was going to go on a different path, and she was not going to stay with the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors seemed like it was not a place for her, but just the way it was executed for me did not work out. It just felt like it was just not earned. That's my thing. Because
Yeah.
like I'm with you. Like I love when ideas are challenged. Like I was pretty grumpy when I saw the TIE Defender and it was Morgan Elsbeth explaining it. I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, is this expanding Thrawn's role in it, or are we saying now that Morgan started it? Like sometimes I hate when your idea of what you know is challenged, but then I also like it. So it just made me think about, oh, what does this mean for Thrawn's character? Like later on in Rebels when he pulls it, is he, it just makes you think. I love stuff like that. So I've kind of come around to that, being like, oh yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Morgan started it. Thrawn kind of carries the ball. Sure, it's now just going to come from one person. Great, sure. But this is the other side, on the Bears side. It's like, again, I just didn't feel like some of that stuff was earned, and I felt like we skipped a lot of what I was just praising Bad Batch for doing. And I know we have limited time with the show, but with these episodes. But what I loved Bad Batch for doing is like what they presented to you, except the Project Necromancer. And I think that's the Mandalorian's fault, because it feels like we're going to continue on with that later. But what they presented to you, they basically pretty much explained, or they like went full on like, oh yeah, we're going to bring Cody in. We're going to tell you what happens with him. Like they were just addressing all these questions that we've had with the clones. And I mean, how many times were we watching Rebels questioning, are those stormtroopers clones? And we're finally getting all the answers to all that, and they didn't miss a beat again, besides Project Necromancer. But then we get to here where it just feels a whole bunch of like we get some points, but it's like, oh yeah, fill in the blanks kind of. And it just felt like we weren't really addressing. Like I wish it was like Barris went into the bombing of the temple and had like this. I mean, we don't have to have like this whole however saying kumbaya and I'm sorry for what I did, but I just wanted her to dig deeper into why she did that, what happened. I thought that would kind of be an expansion to her character in that way, sort of how we saw Dooku kind of being agonized by the death of Qui-Gon Jinn and it moving him in a different direction. And we got that like real moment between him and Yaddle. I thought we would get a moment like that between maybe the fourth sister and Barris. So I like when ideas are challenged, and I like, when you take a character that, you was down a certain path and you change it up and you change the whole thought process behind it, but just do it in a way that just seems genuine, that it seems like all the facts are laid there, yada, 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 So I'm just, yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm grumpy about it, because I'm not. But at the same time, I'm just like, well, just it didn't work for me, to TBH, but to each their own.
Anyway, as I was saying, yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't even remember what my thoughts were, but yeah, no, as I was saying, I really enjoyed the Barris story. Yeah, I think like if they did what we expected, it wouldn't have been interesting to me. I like that they went down a path that wasn't something that I expected, because I didn't see them that coming. I thought, yeah, maybe she won't join the Inquisitorius. I didn't see her going all the way back to the light, but then it made me think back to Clone Wars and moments with Barris when I realized, yeah, Barris was never inherently a bad person. She made mistakes. She had views that I think generally people could really agree upon, but extremism of any kind is never good. And she showed that she was an extremist. And I liked in Tales that she pulled that back, and she had that realization with herself that that was the wrong path to follow. And because she genuinely thought she was doing the right thing, I really loved the moment between her and that child explaining, like, no, like, we're here to help you. Just let me know what we're doing. And then I think she even had a moment with the sixth sister. Again, I can't remember if that's their correct title.
Fourth.
But yeah, fourth. But it's like where she was saying, I think the Inquisitorius is like, is this, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it's like, yeah, you can tell she really thinks that she's doing the right thing. So I loved that point of view with her. And ultimately, yeah, it's like she came to learn that she was wrong. And then she and that's not the path I expected them to go at. Like, and her really owning those mistakes, and you can see how old and frail she had become. And I know I've been seeing this online. It's like the reason she looks like that is because she's been healing others, and that's probably what you'd expect. Of course, that's what killed, Ben Solo in Rise of Skywalker was, bringing someone to life and giving away your life energy, whatever they call it. So I thought that was really good. So yeah, ultimately, really, really loved the Barris stuff, and I don't know, I just it just really hit me. And I think Star Wars as of late has felt like it's struggled to make me feel something on an emotional level, and Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire have both really sent me like down on an emotional sort of uh you know journey where I've actually been thinking about this stuff. And because as George Lucas says, it's not Star Wars if you can't apply it to real life. So just really, really good stuff. And I think this I think you mentioned something about Dave Filoni, but I'm like, this is his story, his character for the most part. He's like, this probably is the story he always wanted to tell. Like I believe that. And you wonder what his involvement is with all these episodes. You can look in the credits, it says created by, story by, executive produced by. So he's very heavily involved with this still, even though he's not directly writing all the episodes. So yeah, I guess I'm just very like open-minded to whatever stories they want to tell. And ultimately just really, really enjoyed that. And Morgan Elsbeth, again, I love what they did here, because this is what Star Wars animation has done forever, which is take characters from live action, expand on them, make them more interesting, more fleshed out. And that's exactly how I feel what they've done with Morgan Elsbeth was. I like how much time both of these arcs progress. And even though it's really just bite-sized chunks, it feels like they're telling one coherent story. And I love the titles of all the Morgan Elsbeth episodes: The Path of Fear, The Path of Anger, The Path of Hate. Like, going deep into, it's like she's not a Sith, but she's following down the dark side. And I love the Star Wars showing that it's like, you don't need to be a Jedi or a Sith to choose the light or the dark, because that's pretty much the message that they've been trying to send forever about, everyone should live like a Jedi and not live like a Sith, etc. So really, really strong storytelling. I love what they did with her, and just like the cinematography. Again, I'm not like some film nerd or anything, but I just
You are.
love that it started. I guess a bit. I love that it started with Morgan standing in front of the fire of her own village burning, and ended with her burning another village. And she has just prolonged that. She's inflicted her own trauma onto so many other people, because she acted out in fear, anger, and hate. So I really, really love those stories, and the Thrawn stuff doesn't bother me at all. I think it doesn't take away from Thrawn. It almost adds to it to me, because it's a new dimension of Thrawn, and the way that Captain Pelion was there, and he was like that's just shows Thrawn is out there. He's listening to others. He's open-minded. Not everything he does is just himself. He's not like some stubborn Imperial who's just gonna blindly follow his own path. So I like that about it. And yeah, it's like that project is still his. It wouldn't have come off the ground if Captain Pelion wasn't sitting there listening to Elsbeth. So I like that it shows that they think differently to other Imperials. And yeah, it's not exactly what I thought. Maybe that's not what Dave Filoni, the storytellers, had always planned it as, but it doesn't take any away from it for me. And yeah, like just those, like just the little details here and there. Like, I guess these days, like back in the day, I used to get really worked up about. I'm just not as fussed about it anymore. Like big things like, the Kanan comic will forever bug me, but I just think overall that, like, I know there was some discourse about Grievous wearing a cape or whatever that was. I'm like, it looks cool, it's fine, whatever. So ultimately, Tales of the Jedi really, really strong for me. Yeah, just another great Tales of the Empire. Sorry, really strong. Another great set of stories. And also wanted to mention like the Ahsoka call out, or probably the Ahsoka call out, that when Barris says she's going to help you or whatever. That didn't bug me, but I thought that was interesting, because I'm like, wow, okay, like, is Barris a part of the path? Like, how involved is she? And it's sort of a thing of and this isn't a gripe I have. It's more just an interest of going, oh, okay, another Jedi survived. What does that mean for the galaxy at that time? And how are we going to go more into that, or yeah, just how does that play into that time period and everything like that? So yeah, good stuff. Tales of the Empire. Any thoughts on that, or should we start talking about the episodes?
Yeah, we can start talking about. I mean, for me, again, I'm not trying to come off as like a somebody that's gatekeep because I hate that stuff. I entered that fandom when it was just like that, people just hogging up the, like, oh, you can't touch this character, you can't do that. I hate that mentality. But yeah, I just it's a bit of two sides of a coin type deal for me. I mean, I like some stuff. I really don't like other stuff. But yeah, it's interesting also seeing the social media reaction and people like thinking Tales of the Jedi was everything, and then watching Tales of the Empire is just like one of the worst things Star Wars has put out, which totally don't agree with. But it's just so weird. It's like, wow, like people were like super hyped for the show, and like it was a surprise announcement, and I thought it would be met more with enthusiasm, and people are just like totally just dissing it, which is surprising to me. But it's something that we'll continue talking about as time goes on and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I wonder what side of the internet you're on, because everything I've read has been positive.
Really?
To be honest. Yeah.
I mean, I've just checked Instagram and stuff, and even some YouTube comments and all. And people are not liking it. We gotta phone a friend. We gotta see what Parks thinks about all this.
True. I'd be interested to hear. Anyway, let's talk about the Barris stuff. I guess let's just start with, what was your favorite or least favorite? What was something that really stood out to you in her 3 episodes, or was it an episode? Was it a moment? What do you think?
I think standout for me was the fourth sister. I mean, I was just like, oh, I'm like, we're choosing this person from the Obi-Wan show that had 2 lines. Great. But I mean, I love the way they sort of fleshed her out. And I mean, they had a preview clip, and it was from the first episode. I love that you get to witness Barris Offie's reaction to Order 66 and all that. And I kind of wish we got to see like maybe the clones. I mean, just maybe talk about their programming a little, because I love when in the Clone Wars finale, again, we have less time to do so. But in the Clone Wars finale, the clones were like, do we kill? Or they were like, oh yeah, Order 66 has marked Ahsoka Tano and Maul to be terminated, or something like that. They had a specific order. And I was hoping that the clones would barge in there and be like, wait, or even just like, look, like, nope, like, or just start with them, bugging out and being like, maybe kill a prisoner Jedi down the cell, and then be like, no, Barris needs I don't know, just make some dialogue like Palpatine is spared Barris for the time being, or something like that. But I mean, it was still cool the way they opened up with Barris like breathing heavily and her looking out, seeing Coruscant or the Jedi Temple being attacked, and say, guards, what's going on? So that was pretty intense. So, but that was just that's how I thought it would start. But I'm like, I like the way it opened up. But I like the fourth sister. I mean, she came in there, she's like, Barris Offie, stand up. And she's like, Glenn, what are you doing here? I mean, this is a funny moment. Like, she knew, which I thought was great. I'm like, great. I love that Barris knew who the true fourth sister's identity. And I love by the end of it, she's like, stop calling me that. That's not my name. And it was just really emotional. And shout out to the voice actress of the fourth sister, who the actor from Obi-Wan Kenobi like reprised her role as the fourth sister here. But I love the way she was at the end of the episode. Screaming, like, you. Oh, am I back? Can you hear me?
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, we're having some Kaminoan disruptions here. I think Rampart's over trying to fire. But I mean, you just felt so desolate in those ice caves, and you felt trapped like the fourth sister, and she sounded so desperate, yelling Barris. So shout out to the voice actor. Shout out to the actor, because she did. Sorry, I'm getting some burps from coffee, but she was doing she did a great job. But yeah, the standout moments were definitely with Barris and that fourth sister Inquisitor. Like they just had really cool moments, and people wanted Vader to show up at the end of that third episode when it's the obviously I mean I don't know how you felt. I'm like, that's the fourth sister coming back. Like the way the story had been set up, I'm like, it's the fourth sister. People thought it was gonna be Vader. I'm like,
Oh no,
like
I
why?
completely thought it'd be the fourth sister.
Yeah,
Didn't
I'm like,
even think
where
of
do
Vader.
you?
Yeah,
I mean, not everything has to come off like a comic book or whatever. Like that.
yeah,
That felt that moment for me was just even scarier than Darth Vader being there for me. But anyways, yeah, the standout episode to me was probably, man, I like the second episode. I mean, I like all three episodes. It would have to be the third episode, just because of how. Again, I still don't know a lot of the decisions there, but I just still love that there was a time jump, major time jump, and I just got all the feels with Barris, and I love that moment where she was reflecting back on life, being like, me and my master would travel the stars, and I saw great things, but then a darkness came over me. And then like that was just so deep that I wish it was just expanded on a little bit more. But yeah, that was deep. I'm like, that just feels like sometimes when you're sitting around a campfire with friends and talking about life and stuff, you just get to those conversations. So that was very reflective of that. But anyways, the fourth sister stuff too was cool, and I just this is just an overall thing that we can talk another time, but man, the Inquisitors, like, it just seems like they're all like, which maybe it's something they're going for, but it seems like they're all like just, which I mean it's inevitable, right? Because that's where they all Inquisitors were once Jedi, and it just seems like all of them are being you know freed at some point, or just being like, I mean, we had Trilla and Fallen Order just coming to this moment of realization, and I think that's what the episode's called, realization, of just them coming to realization,
yeah.
and having
That's
a moment
episode
of
5. The
okay.
final one is
Oh
called The
yeah,
Way Out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right.
because
So
the realization is referring to Barris, but yeah.
okay, so yeah, but anyways, it's just an overall problem that I'm like, damn, like it's crazy how, I mean, shout out fifth brother and seventh sister from Rebels, because they made it all the way through without getting killed by Ahsoka, meeting somebody, and then kind of redeeming themselves. I mean, they were just bad to the bone, evil to all the way to the end. So I think that's rare and funny. Or actually, Merrick beats everybody because he made it all the way to the Ahsoka show. But anyways, I
Yeah,
mean,
true. I didn't even
but
think about that.
yeah, I'm curious where we're going. I mean, this is a ramble for another time, but I'm curious where we're going with all the Inquisitor stuff, because I mean, it's kind of cool that it's like almost the clones coming out of that Order 66 trance and that Kanan comic being like, wait, what are you doing? Like, why are we killing this kid? Like, why are we hunting this kid?
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense for the Inquisitors because they were once Jedi, right? So if they were once at that spot, they can always go back, even though it's going to be a very tough battle to get back. But it was kind of cool how that was with the fourth sister. She left her lightsaber there, and she walked away. So obviously this takes place after Kenobi, I think, because she was trying to hunt Kenobi.
Probably
So
just after, yeah.
yeah,
I actually like what they're doing with the Inquisitors, because again, it's just showing with Palpatine his lack of forward thinking. Like he in the moment, Order 66, great idea. But then little does he know, well, the clones are going to snap out of that, and they're going to, whatever. Same with the Inquisitors. Oh, the Inquisitors, this will work. But then, of course, it comes back to bite him at times. And that just shows that he's chasing this power. He gets the power, and then ultimately, like, his biggest fear is to lose it, and he does, because he doesn't have that forward thinking.
I mean, think back to when the Inquisitors, which I thought was weird, which, I mean, at this point, it's just contradictions are bound to happen. But I remember that Vader comic by Charles Soule. The only reason they go to Fortress Inquisitorius, they were stationed on Coruscant, but then this big fiasco chase scene happened and people got killed, and it caused a big stir up on Coruscant, and Palpatine was like, I need my little experiments, the Inquisitors, off world. Like their base will be next to Mustafar. You know, but I mean, at this point, it's just like things are like that are gonna happen, and you know, unfortunately, the comics and books get left behind, and it's really animation and the movies that get put on this higher platter. But it's just the way it is. But unfortunately, but yeah, I thought that was interesting that they went directly to Fortress Inquisitorius and that it was being built and stuff. So I'm like, wow, this is pretty new. So yeah, yeah, Palpatine was like, yeah, we'll have the base here on Coruscant, but then as you said, things come by him. It's like, oh wait, no, they need to go somewhere else and stuff, and yeah, it's just I think I'll just say this: my favorite interpretation of the Inquisitors has been probably Jedi Fallen Order. Like they are mad scary, like they're threatening and all that, and still I love what they did with Trella at the end and having that moment, but and then still having somebody bad to the bone like Night Sister, where it's like, dude, you are just man sanitide, you are evil. But yeah, I mean, it was great hearing Barris's voice again, and I was totally blindsided by Barris's betrayal back in Clone Wars. I mean, I kind of saw it, but then when it happened, I was like, oh my god, wait, and you just get this moment between Ahsoka and Barris being like, wait, her best friend or whatever betrayed her like that. That's whack. So it seemed like they were setting up some stories to be told before Barris's, you know, ending there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some really tense moments. I love that. I love how different Barris was, all suited up in black and all that, and she looked evil, and she was the one helping out the kid, and she even had a helmet on. And then the nicer looking one, the fourth sister, then slaughters that entire little post there of all the people, and I thought she was gonna kill the kid, and I was like, oh my god, we're really going there. And she just walks past them, and it was just interesting. It's a lot of stuff that I think what you said, thought provoking, that I'm like, wow, like you know, what are the depths here? And thinking back to even the training scene with the Grand Inquisitor and all. I mean, that was pretty cool. I'm not sure if I mean, I thought the episode was neat, but there's some stuff in there that I'm like, yeah, like, all right, we just kind of skimmed over stuff, but that's, you know, it's just in the nature of the stuff, because they're trying to go for like a lower runtime and all stuff. Like we can't get all the answers to our questions, but yeah, it was just cool seeing the Grand Inquisitor again in Jason Isaacs. I mean, always plays a cool guy. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Like there's like I'd love to sit here and like break down each episode by episode, but like overall, just I think the Barris episodes were like brought up a lot of great talking points that I kept thinking. I'm like, oh, I want to talk about Ari about this stuff that I think he'll find interesting, or talk about Parks in this aspect. So yeah, it's good. I can't wait to rewatch it again and see how I feel about some stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot to add to what I said earlier. I love the inclusion of Grand Inquisitor back. Yeah, get it back into Jason Isaacs' hands was really nice. And that whole first episode was just interesting. I liked what they did with like those two other, I'm assuming they were former Jedi as well, and just watching that whole process was cool, and seeing the base like not fully constructed, all that. Yeah, it was just a fun watch, and probably episode 5, Realization, might have been my favorite episode of the entire series, to be honest. I just like Barris going from sort of her darkest moment in, like, you know, she's just coming off of force choking one of her former friends, or, you know, how do you say, like, acquaintances, maybe they weren't friends, deep into the, you know, in the trenches as a inquisitor, and then coming out of that. I just really like that story, and her owning her mistake, and yeah, all that. I thought it was really just a really great story. And then yeah, the way out as well, really good stuff. I agree with what you're saying about the fourth sister. Like, she was just sort of like a nobody, and now, as I said, Star Wars animation always makes those characters into something else, and now I look at that character as an intriguing character, and, you know, a good addition to the vast array of Star Wars characters that we have. So yeah, really just yeah, overall enjoyed the Barra stuff. I'm looking forward to rewatching it all. Before we wrap up real quick, we'll talk about the Morgan Elsbeth stuff as well. I think yeah, overall, I've said what I've said about this stuff, but I think just really nice to have a further in depth look at that character. Some probably one of the, I wouldn't say they were weak, but in Ahsoka they felt sort of just thrown in and out of place, and it was like, oh, okay, like somehow Morgan Elsbeth is behind all of this. Like it's just seemed interesting, but now I'm really glad we have that added context. Then no one needs to watch this to understand Ahsoka, but it can certainly help enrich that experience. And I just thought I love the way that the two arcs sort of told opposite stories, and they really lined up nicely next to each other, because they were, yeah, one was about someone, a horrible thing happening to someone, and then going down the path of fear, anger, and hate, and then on the other side it was someone has done a horrible thing and then them going down the opposite path. So yeah, just really good stuff. Enjoyed all 3 episodes. I think my favorite out of those 3 probably would be the Path of Anger, the second one, with Thrawn and Rook. But I mean, it's hard to even pick out a favorite episode, because all of them just sort of tell like a really nice, concise story. But I think, yeah, out of the 2, I think I preferred the Barris stuff just a tiny bit more. But yeah, it was both great. What did you make of the Morgan Elsbeth stuff?
Yeah, I think I preferred the Morgan stuff at the end because I just felt a little bit more consistency. Um, like I like that like downward spiral that we were going. And yeah, I totally loved those two contrasting but very similar shots of Morgan Elsbeth walking away from fire, and yeah, exactly what you said, inflicting her trauma on others and stuff. And I think that was great. She's, and I loved her speech at the end when they thought they really had her, and she's like, "My world has been burning since I was a child," and it was just like, "Ooh, that's cold." So, and then she just set her own world on fire. Like that was insane, or set really their world on fire, and I thought that was just insane. So yeah, that was really cool. I love that they went back to Dathomir and showed us all that stuff. Yeah, the Cape controversy continues, but I mean, he looked cool. Like it was just
Another
cool.
riveting day in the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I'm like I am about that just because. I mean, I talked about it enough, but I whatever. I just like consistency in animation when it comes to visuals like that, because it's very different than live action, and you can achieve that stuff. But I mean, it just added another layer of badassery, and I love when Star Wars feels like tales being passed around the galaxy, and not that some of them may be false, but it's just it's all in the eye of the beholder. So it's like maybe Grievous didn't even have a cape that time. It was just the way Morgan was recounting in her memory that or maybe he even only had 2 arms and not 4. I like tales like that. But anyways, yeah, I think I preferred the Morgan stuff over the Barris stuff. But I mean, again, I think it was really cool stuff, and I love that a new light has been shown on Morgan Elsbeth, and I even think the actress, I forget her name, Mary something, but she did a great job voicing the character, and it just brought a new depth to her. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. No, as Mike said, like we could sit here and talk about so much more. There's a lot to talk about. 6 episodes of really rich stories, a lot of nice addition to Star Wars lore, all that sort of stuff. We could, and I'm sure as time goes on, we will continue to talk about Tales of the Empire the same way we continue to talk about Tales of the Jedi. So yeah, no, once again, well, yeah, what would you give Tales of the Empire out of 10 before we wrap it up?
I'm probably a 7. So yeah, 7. I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd go 8.5, I'd say. But yeah, Anyway,
we gotta get parked. We gotta get parked.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. Find Mike at all_Star Wars, me at Star Wars_Exchange. Follow the pod page at the SW Exchange, all on Instagram. Would really appreciate if you're watching on YouTube, if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on audio, if you could drop us a 5-star review. We really appreciate all the support. We will continue doing podcasts when we get the chance. We love jumping on and chatting Star Wars, and drop your comments. We'll talk to you. We'd love to talk back to you guys. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. May the Force be with you. See you next time.
Adios.